everyone, my name is Lisa Ross, though you may know me better as Paper Daisy Creations. And today I'm going to be showing you how to make these little bobbles. They're one-row bobbles, or sometimes they're referred to as nupps. And they are not difficult to work, a little bit more difficult when you're using multiple colors across the same row, but only just because you're working stranded color work already. Nothing much more difficult than that. What we're doing with these nupps is creating a three-dimensional effect for the little holly berries. Now they're not going to look perfect. They definitely require blocking, and even after we work the next row, they're going to look slightly better, secured in place, and confirming their spot as the little holly berries within the pattern. So let me show you what we're going to do. All right, I'm ready to work my first holly berry. So I'm going to go into this stitch and I'm going to knit, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit, all into one stitch. So it's going to take one stitch and it's going to turn it into 5 stitches. Now, it's very important that your yarn is not pulled too tightly. We don't want to create puckering, and so you can actually see that I've trapped my yarn along the back as I've worked this red. And I'll show you that in just a minute, so that as you're working around, you can be trapping your yarn, as it'll help with your tension when you come to this point. So making the bobble, I'm going to go in and I'm going to knit that stitch, leaving it on the needle. I'm going to, you can see I'm pulling that stitch longer so that I can go back and yarn over, go back into the stitch and knit, yarn over, and then go back into that stitch and knit it, and then take that green stitch off the needle. And there I have one stitch turned into 5 stitches. But I'm not finished yet. This is just a one-row bobble, and so what I need to do is take each of these 4 stitches to the right of the first stitch and lift them over the first stitch. So this first stitch right here on the right needle, that's the only one that's going to stay on there. The other ones are all going to come off by being lifted over. Now you can go in and you may be able to lift all 4 at once over it. I usually like to do maybe 2 or 3 at a time. So I'm still holding that first stitch, keeping that on the needle and lifting those other stitches over. So I pulled 2 stitches over the first stitch. Now I'm pulling 2 more stitches over the first stitch, and that creates my little hollyberry bobble or nup. Now I'm going to work my way over, and I will show you the way that I trap my floats, though depending on how you hold your yarn and how you work your color work, it may be a little bit different. So I'm knitting 7 stitches with the light green, so I'm going to knit 1, 2, and because I'm holding the red in my left hand, I can just go under the red and trap it that way when I pull up my next stitch. So that's 3, 4, 5. I also like to trap it on the 6th stitch. So for me, I'm going under the red and knitting with the green, and that traps it for my 6th stitch. I'm knitting 1 more, and now I'm ready to work my next nup. So I do want to show you, you can see it's a little bit clumsy looking. Again, this is something that will get fine-tuned both on the next round as we're knitting it, and then finally with blocking. And it's going to just create that little 3-dimensional effect. It's not something that's required. You could just use a red stitch. This one's just a little bit more fun. All right, so I've trapped my red yarn along the back. You can see how it was trapped behind the green, which helps keep nice even tension, and it doesn't make my float too long. And I'm ready to work my next bobble. So I'm going into this stitch. Again, I'm going to knit, yarn over, knit, so that it takes 1 stitch and turns it into 5. So go in and knit, leave it on the needle, yarn over, knit, yarn over, knit. That's my 5 stitches. Be sure you have your first one. Be sure that the others haven't climbed on top of it. These stitches do like to get sort of climbing on top of one another. You can see these down here are a little bit longer than the ones closest to the tip of the needle. Now I'm going to pull these 4 stitches, these 4 red stitches, over the first stitch. Again, you can do it 1 at a time, 2 at a time, or all 4 at once if you're that talented. I like to do it 2 at a time. I find that that is easiest for me. But if you're having trouble going into those stitches, you can see I've kind of wiggled the needle around, tried to loosen these stitches up a little bit. You can go closer to the point of the needle. And if you go too close and you knock something off, this is a really easy stitch to just start over. Put that green stitch back on your needle and just do that all over again, where you knit, yarn over, and knit. And now I'm going to lift those stitches over. And they do sort of work well in pairs because you've done that knit, yarn over stitch. And so I'm going to pull over 2, and then I pull over 2 more, and there I have my next bobble or nup. Now, I am going to show you how I would trap the red yarn if I am holding the colors in the opposite hands. I do talk about color dominance, and the red is my the color that I want to be dominant for this one, which is why I hold it in my left hand. But just for demonstration purposes, I will show you what it looks like if I'm knitting across. So I knit 1, 2, and then going into this third one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the red as if I'm knitting it, then take the green and put it on the needle as if I'm knitting that, and then take the red back off the needle. And so what I did was I wrapped it around that stitch so it traps it along the back. So that was stitch 3, 4, 5. I like to trap it on stitch 6. So I go forward with the red as if I'm going to knit, forward with the green as if I'm going to knit, and then put the red to the back. That traps that one. And now I'm ready to work my next bobble, which I'll do holding that in my right hand. And that's all there is to it, is that 5-stitch increase and then just lifting those stitches over. It makes these adorable little berries and gets you well on your way to your mystery Christmas socks. Thank you so much for joining me. You can find this design and all of my patterns on Ravelry and paperdaisycreations.com. And as always, I wish you very happy knitting.